So here's two thoughts when you say, okay, we should not look at the old ERP because that's looking probably the problem, repeating the problem that you're looking at.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take the old ERP and moving it,
Yeah.
replicating, just putting new clothes on it, and that's it.
Mm.
So there's two thoughts. One is I hear RFPs popping up all the time. Okay, well, let's do an RFP. That seems like the
Yeah.
sophisticated way of doing it. And certainly we will probably get inspired by what the proposals back to us is. And the other one is, okay, now everybody's using AI. So with the AI in mind, I probably get to the future state
Mhm.
thinking, here's what the dream ideal solution would look like if I use AI. So, what are the thoughts and challenges of the two aspects of using
Yeah.
keys and using AI tools?
So the RFP and AI question, couple of thoughts on both. First, the RFP. You can spend an incredible amount of time internally or with consulting resources building RFPs. One of the more interesting stories about an RFP is when a really fabulous architect that was working for me came back to me with an RFP in hand and said, "Would you like me to answer this so that we get the business or truthfully?" And I had to laugh because what he basically said was the quiet part out loud. Everybody that gets an RFP wants to get to the next level because everybody figures that where they that the whole magic to the sales process is getting to the conversation and the demo, because at that point you could obfuscate where you may have stretched the truth a lot, right? And so that's number one. Number two is there are a lot of really potentially good partners that won't even bother answering an RFP because everyone is afraid of the following. If I didn't write it, I'm not getting the business because somebody else wrote it and it's now being shopped around to get some additional responses. So the guy that originally wrote it can get the business, and the company that issued the RFP can protect themselves by saying, look, we went out and shopped this. So it's a term in the industry called column fodder, because what you're doing is the company that issued the RFP has an Excel spreadsheet, and then it has columns of all the different companies that responded where they get graded. And all you're doing is you're creating fodder for that column with zero to no chance to getting selected. So the RFP process is fundamentally flawed in a awful way to go out and look for software. Because at the end of the day, it creates more work for the company looking for software and the company that's going to help you install the software. And so all we're doing is we're creating extra time and effort and probably increase the expense.
So, actually, I have a very funny statement for that. Is a
Uh-huh.
lot of the times, and we've seen this multiple times with our customers, that they already know the ERP that they are leaning towards.
Yes.
So they have a strong belief they have either word of mouth or something that leans them towards one solution. And I see the RFPs issued just to be a proof why not to select somebody. So it's almost like deselecting some of the other vendors that board or others have said you need to go and assess these other companies.
Yeah.
But somebody, if it's CFO or CIO, is
Mhm.
already leaning towards one. So we will talk about that when we do a different way of doing your business requirements because we
Yeah.
use as an insurance policy many times to
Yes.
actually support your selection criteria
Yeah.
instead of doing this hugely time consuming exercise of gathering RFPs.
I think that is totally fair that you want to justify what you want to do.
Yeah.
But do not put a whole bunch of vendors, what I call through the vendor Olympics,
Yeah.
with absolutely zero opportunity for them
Yeah.
to win the business because now you're just stealing their time.
Yes.
And the
And
whole,
time because you've been assessing them too for all
yeah,
for nothing. Yep.
yeah, 100%. Then the question of AI and RFPs, that is an absolutely great question. And here's what I have found. In the same way that I can use AI to come back with what is the best way to implement ERP, and you get very generic, fluffy answers. You get nothing specific, and you get nothing that you can take back and depend on to give you a better shot of having a good project outcome. AI is only as good as the data it's able to access to come back.
Yeah.
What is out there in the general ecosystem for AI to research? It's articles and information that's provided by software companies. It's articles and information written by consulting firms and partners that want to sell software. Do you think anybody's writing about the shortcomings of anything?
It's all biased. Yeah.
It's all heavily biased. And so what you're going to do is one of the things I think that we learned that is real interesting about these AI engines is that they will come back with an answer as soon as they're satisfied, whatever that means, when they're satisfied that they have a good answer.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they've come back with the best answer.
Yeah.
Caveat emptor as far as using AI to do requirements, because here's the catch 22 is with a lot of if you think about when we use AI in our business, one of the things that we do is we come back and we look at the results very carefully to make sure that they make sense before we use any of the information. Now, the catch 22 is if you know nothing about software evaluations and gap fits and requirements and what's available in the market, how do you know what you're getting back from a AI query makes sense?
Yeah.
You don't. If you have 30 years of experience running RFPs, implementing software, fixing projects, et cetera, now you can look at one of those AI searches and you know exactly what's nonsense and what has some ring of truth,
Yep.
if anything.
Yep.
So there's two critical pieces for requirements. Number one, what's the data that you're looking at? Are you looking at sales and marketing data? Chances are, if you're using AI that's searching the general internet, you're getting sales and marketing data.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing is that AI is as good as the questions that you ask.
Correct.
So if you're not very detailed on what are my business requirements and
Yeah.
start with that, what is it that you're asking the AI to return? And then the other one is when you get the answers, ask whatever AI tool you're using, if you use as a source. Because when you ask the source, then you start looking like who influenced that answer. Because as internally, we use AI heavily, but
Mhm.
our own data, not
Correct.
some biased
Yeah.
marketing data that is there.
And that really goes to the core of when we talk about how we want to do requirements for customers now, about how that differentiates from a generic sales and marketing data.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Hey, one question I wanted to ask regarding demos
Yeah.
because it ties so now it's a leading question
Yeah.
because it ties into a requirements gathering. But
Yeah.
You always say the all great failed ERP implementation started with the great demo, right? So that's because you're showing all these shiny objects and saying like all the bells and whistles of the solution. How would you recommend asking for a demo then to make sure that it fits to what you need?
Yeah, that's the perfect follow-up question to that. So the requirements should inform the problem areas for the software. Nobody should care where everything is hunky dory. Who cares? All of this stuff over here works. Who cares? We can go look at that later to entertain ourselves. But the requirements should inform on those three or maybe a couple more critical business areas where if your new ERP doesn't solve those business processes, why bother? Because the thought of everybody being special means that their Frankenstein monster is special, but the vast majority of their business processes are exactly like everybody else's. But there are some real critical areas in some businesses where you absolutely positively have to figure out, okay, this is where the rubber meets the road for this implementation. And if we can't do that, why bother? And so your requirements process has to be able to pull those out like a laser. And then what you do is a good demo focuses on those and only focuses on those. And as everybody sees that it fixes those three or a dozen items that are absolutely critical, then you take a deep breath and say, okay, show me all the fancy, shiny stuff. Show me the dashboard. Show me the user interface. Show me the AI. Because this is interesting if you think about this. A lot of things that companies lead with in their demos, let me say this again. A lot of things that companies lead with in their demos are the absolute last thing that you can make use of as a user. Because it's oh my gosh, look at this. How cool is this? It's a dashboard. It's AI. All of these types of things. None of that stuff works until you have a basic system up and running, processing transactions accurately, and all your setup has been done so that those transactions do process accurately.
Yep.
And then you can layer on all the shiny objects.
Yep.
So it's interesting, but everybody falls in love with the shiny objects and then forgets that they have to be able to print invoices.
Yeah. And we will talk about reporting in a special module on finance planning and
Yeah.
analytics. But I would say, and you just came from a demo where,
Right?
yeah, which is exactly the general demos and shiny objects thing. And I always wonder, that's such a disaster because in today's world, you would
Mhm.
think any buyer is an informed buyer. And I guarantee they have already been on YouTube to look at the shiny stuff because that's what the vendors put there already. So, you
Yeah.
don't have to show the shiny thing and
Mhm.
shiny objects because they're already available in YouTube and vendor sites. So, yeah, it's super important to figure out the key business requirements and needs and focus on those for demos.
It's a really good point I didn't even think about. All of the gee whiz bang wow stuff.
Yeah.
There's unlimited number of videos that you can take a look at on your own time.
Yeah.
It's those three critical items that good luck finding those.